This conference will now be recorded.
Right. So yesterday we have discussed implementing events at a table level, and we also discussed about foreign key relationship. Okay. So in continuation to this dictionary objects, let us discuss about creating indexes on database tables. Creating indexes on database table. Okay. So if you see the indexes on database tables, so what is the purpose of indexing is it is a process of arranging the data in an order. Okay, indexing is a process of arranging the data in an order. Suppose earlier when we discussed about internal tables, in before we use the read statement, okay, before we use the read statement, in order to increase the performance of the read statement, uh, we used to sort the internal table by using what sort command. Similarly, database table also will store what huge amount of data. Okay, so the data in the table should be arranged in an order so that whenever we search for any record, the searching process will be faster. Okay, so these indexes we can classify into two types. Okay, indexes we can classify into two types. One is primary index, another is what a secondary index. Okay, so one is primary index, another one is what a secondary index. The difference between this is primary index will be created and maintained. Okay, primary index will be created and maintained by SAP itself. So this primary index will be created and maintained by SAP. Okay, this is in case of what a primary index. If you take the secondary index, needs to be created explicitly. Needs to be created explicitly by developer. Okay, needs to be created explicitly by developer. Okay, so this primary index, it will be created and maintained by SAP. This is created on top of what? Will be created on top of key fields. Will be created on top of key fields. If you take this secondary index, the developer needs to be creating this. So needs to be created on top of what? On top of non-key fields. Needs to be created on top of non-key fields. Then further, if you take secondary index, this is further classified into two types. Secondary index is further classified into two types. One is unique secondary index, another is non-unique secondary index. Unique secondary index and non-unique secondary index. The difference cannot accept what? Duplicate values. Cannot accept duplicate values. Whereas if you take this non-unique secondary index, as the name itself suggests, can contain what? Can contain duplicate values. Understood. This is the classification of indexing on what? Database table. So let me just save it. Okay, so if you take this any database table, right? Suppose here, whether it is standard table or custom table, this primary index will be created and maintained by what? SAP itself. We don't have any control on that. Okay. If you take this KN1 table also, which we know, if you go to above dictionary, if I open the KN1 table, okay. So in this KN1 table, we have two key fields. What is this? MANDT, which holds a client number, another is KUNR, which holds a customer number. So on top of this primary key fields, internally SAP will create what? Primary index. Understood? We don't have any control on that. So the moment uh, we insert the data into the table, based on the key fields, SAP itself will arrange that data in an order based on the key fields. Understood? And SAP will make use of their primary index whenever we execute the select queries going forward as part of our programs, as part of our reports. We are going to write select statements for reading the data from what? Database tables. Okay, so when you write the select statements comparing with the key fields, SAP will automatically make use of what? Primary index. Am I clear? So SAP will automatically create and maintain the data in an order based on the key fields. So that index, we call it as our primary index. We don't have any control on that particular primary index. SAP will make use of that primary index whenever we execute the select queries comparing with what? Primary key field. Suppose in this particular table, what are the key fields here? One is MANDT, another is what? Customer number. Suppose if I write like this, select so and so from K11 table into so and so. Here I'll say where customer number equal to so and so. Am I clear? I'm going to provide some value. So in my where class, I'm trying to compare with what field? Customer number. This customer number is a primary key field in the K11 table. Na? So since we are executing the select query, comparing with what? Key field, SAP will automatically make use of this particular what? Primary index. Understood? So in your project, assume that, okay, in your project, assume that we might have written many select queries. We might have written many select queries comparing with what non-key field. Suppose I may compare with the land one, name one, like that. In multiple reports in your project, you might have executed, you are trying to execute the select query on the KN1 table, comparing with what? Non-key fields. So depending on the requirement, you may compare with what? Non-key fields. So in order to increase the performance of that particular select queries, am I clear? In order to increase the performance of the select queries, comparing with non-key fields, then we can create what? Secondary index on top of what? Non-key fields. Am I clear? So secondary index, why do we create secondary index? Means in your project, in multiple reports, you might have, you are trying to execute, you're trying to execute the select query comparing with what? Non-key fields. So in order to increase the performance of those select queries, we can create what? Secondary index on top of what? Non-key fields. Okay, so this secondary index, it is classified into what? Two types. One is unique and another non-unique. As the name itself suggests, unique cannot accept duplicate values, whereas non-unique can accept what? Duplicate values. Suppose in our table, suppose I'll take some table here. I'll go to above dictionary. We have a table Z830 EMP, right? So this is client independent table. Here also we'll have the primary key field. So what is the primary key field? An employee number. So SAP will automatically maintain primary index based on this particular employee number field. Means internally it will arrange the data of this table in an order based on which field? Primary key field. We cannot see that primary index. We don't have any control on that primary index. It is created automatically by SAP and maintained automatically by SAP. When I say maintain automatically means whenever we insert a new record, so based on that primary key field value, the record should go and sit in the appropriate position. So that is taken care by what? SAP itself. The maintenance will be taken care by SAP. Now what we are going to do? We are going to create non-unique secondary index. So you will never create secondary index. You will never create secondary index on top of key fields. It doesn't make sense because SAP itself is automatically creating an index, primary index based on key fields. Again, we creating the secondary index on key fields doesn't make sense. So we will never create secondary index on top of key fields. We'll always create on top of what? Non key fields. So let me create secondary index on employee name. So how do I create? Whether it is a custom table or standard table, the procedure is same. Click on the button on the application toolbar. We have the indexes button. Click on this indexes button. So when I click on this indexes button, yeah, you can see it. It is giving one pop-up window. In this pop-up window, you can see there is a button called as create. Create. So if I click on this create, again I got some drop down. We have create index and create extension index. Right? I'll go for what? Create index. Understood? I'll go for create index. Okay, so let me choose create index. Yeah, it is asking the what is the table name? Z830MP. It is asking the index name. Let me give some name. Let me give it as something ID1. Any name you can give. I gave it as ID1. Continue. Some short description. So I'll just say something secondary index. Secondary index on what? Some description, employee name field. And you can see here we have two radio buttons. One is non-unique index, another is what? Unique index. What is our agenda? I want to create the unique index. Sorry, I want to create the non-unique index. So let me select the checkbox. Sorry, let me select the radio button, non-unique index. And you can see here there is a button table fields. If I click on the table fields, it is going to list out the table fields on which field you want to create employee names. So select the required fields. I can create on what? Combination of what? Multiple fields also. So I'm going for employee name. Continue. Right. So this is employee name. That's it. So we are done with what? Creating what? Non-unique index. So you need to activate your index. Okay. What is the status? The status is what? New. So let me save it. Check for the syntax error. Activate this. Yeah. Object activated. You can see it. Status is active. What is the message? Index exists in the database system. Database system Oracle. That's it. So this is your secondary index on this particular field. So how SAP will make use of this secondary index in your project? In many objects, you might write some select queries. You might write some select queries. You might compare with what? What? Name one field. Okay. So what SAP will do internally? SAP will check whether any index is maintained on this name one. Yes, or in our table. No? So what is the table name? Select star selects from 830 EMP into so and so where what is that field name? Employee name. Where employee name equal to so and so. So Whenever you are trying to execute the select query based on what? Non-key field, SAP will check whether you have maintained any secondary index on this field. So if the secondary index is available, SAP will make use of the secondary index order for faster retrieval of what? Data. That's it. This is your secondary index. Let me create unique secondary index on client dependent table. I created non-unique index on client independent table which doesn't have MANDT field. Now let this index, I'll just cancel this, close this window. Yeah. Now let us open the other table, Z830 underscore EMP, right? Open this in display or change mode. I'll click on the indexes button on the application toolbar, right? I'll click on create index. Index name, I'll give it as ID2. I can give ID1 because the earlier index is on other table. Let me check. I'll go for ID1 only. Continue. Yeah, it is allowing. I'll give the description. Secondary index on ename. So what is the radio button I want to choose now? Unique index. I'll choose the radio button unique index. Then here I need to give the table fields. I'll select only employee name. Be clear? I'm selecting only employee name. This is what kind of table? Client dependent table. Na? So whenever we create unique secondary index on client dependent tables, the client field should be part of the index. Am I clear? I repeat, whenever we create unique secondary index on what? Client dependent tables, the client field should be part of the index. So I am not selecting the client field, I am selecting only employee name. Continue. Right, done. I'll try to activate. So this is unique secondary index on top of client dependent table. Let me save it, check for the syntax. I got an error here. What is the error I got? Client field required for what? Unique index. So whenever we create unique index on client dependent table, client field should be part of that particular index. So what is the adjustment I have to do? I must select client field also. So I'll go to that. I'll select MANDT and employee name combination. Then I got both the things. Let me save it. Check for the syntax error. Activate this. That's it. Index so and so exists in the database system. That's all. So again, SAP will make use of the secondary index whenever we compare based on that fields. Now, since this is what client dependent what table, you'll say select so and so from 830 EMP into what so and so, where what here we will have an option called as client dependent. Okay, so that anyhow we'll discuss later on. So assume that I'll say where MANDT equal to so and so and what employee name equal to so and so. So it checks for what secondary index on top of these two fields. Since it is available, it will make use of that. So the main purpose of index is what? For arranging the data in an order. We cannot see that order. Internally, the order will be maintained on top of that indexed fields. So that whenever we execute the select queries for data retrieval, SAP will make use of these indexes for faster retrieval of data. If you take any textbook, in the beginning of the textbook, we'll have the index. Na? What is the purpose of the index? For we can navigate to that particular page what in a quick way. If you don't have index, what I have to do? I need to check each and every page. If you have the index, I can directly refer to the topic in the index. I can directly jump to that particular page. Understood? So to increase the search process, understood, to consume less time for reading a record, we'll go forward creating the index. That's it. There's a concept of indexes. Any questions, please ask. right? Okay. So this is about the indexing concept on what? Database tables. Right. Let me go for currency and quantity fields. We have a tab called as currency and what? Quantity fields. So what I'll do is, yeah, let me take this table only. In this table, let us insert some what? Field here in the existing table. I'll take the field name as something employee salary. Okay, employee salary. I'll give the data element of this field as something Z employee salary. Okay, I'll press enter. Yeah, it is saying that this data element is not active. Let me double click on this, save it, create the data element. Yes, I'll provide the description, right? Domain. I'll give the domain as something ZEMP salary or some other name. Data element name and domain name can be same. So I'm going for ZEMP salary. Then no active domain is available. So let us create the domain. I'll double click on this, save it. Yes, I'll save it in the local object. Create the domain. Yes, I'll give the description. Let me give the description as something employee salary. Done. Data type. Now salary, I will give the data type as, so far we have seen integer and what? A character, date also we can give. Now I'll go for CURR. CURR. Understood? Currency. Okay, for salary I'm giving the data type as what? Currency. Okay, I'll give the size as something 10. Decimal places are corrected to default value for currency. Okay, so out of 10 characters, the last two are reserved for what? Decimals or 10 plus 2. And you'll between you'll have a separator, the output length is 13. Fine. So save it, check for the syntax error, activate this. So what I did, I created the domain with the data type is what? Currency. Okay, I'll go back. Right, let me save it. If you want maintain some field label, I'll give the label as something salary. Right, so save it. Check for the syntax, activate your data element. Data element is active. I'll go back. Right, let us try to activate the table. Check for the syntax. Yeah, I got an error. What is the error here? Z830 underscore EMP for employee salary. Reference table, specify reference table and a reference field. Specify reference table and what? Reference field. Okay, specify reference table and reference field it seems. Okay. Okay. So what is this reference table and reference field concept is, if your database table or database structure contains currency or quantity fields, we must specify the reference table and reference field information. I repeat, if your database table or database structure contains currency or quantity fields, then we must specify the reference table and reference field. So what is the meaning of this is, suppose here, uh, yeah, we have the data type currency. Okay, the reference data type for currency is CUKY, currency key. Suppose if you have the data type as quantity, the reference data type for this is what? Unit. Understood? Suppose, what is the meaning here? Suppose I'll say currency, I'll give it as something 1000. What is this 1000? Whether it is INR, whether it is USD, whether it is whatever it is, European pound, you have to mention that. So I'll store like this, INR, which indicates 1000 INR. I'll give 1000. Okay, I'll say what currency key is what USD. Am I clear like this? Okay, I'll give 1000. I'll give something AUD, Australian dollar. Like that, if your database table or database structure current contains currency fields, we must specify the reference table and reference field. Means I must point to a field whose data type should be what? Currency key. Similarly, I'll enter quantity here. Okay, I'll enter quantity as 100. What is this quantity 100? Whether it is 100 liters, whether it is 100 kgs, understood? Whether it is 100 centimeters. Am I clear? So like that, we have to specify the reference data type. Am I clear? So in this case also, what I'll do is, so it is giving me an error saying that, what is that it is saying? Specify reference table and what? Reference field. So for this currency field, you must refer to a field whose data type should be what? Currency key. Whose data type should be what? Currency key. Am I clear? So what I'll do, I'll take another column here, EMP salary key, some name I'll give, right? I'll give the data element as something ZEMP salary key. Done. I'll double click on this, create the data element. Yeah, I'll give some description here. Let me give it as something EMP salary key. I'll give some domain ZEMP salary key. Domain is not available, so double click on this. I'll try to create this particular domain. Create the domain EMP salary key. Understood. Data type. I'll give the data type as, what is the reference data type for currency key? CUKY. CUKY. So I'll choose CUKY. Default width it is giving it as 5. If you want, you can change it. Okay, activate this particular domain. Yeah, domain is what? Activated. Done. Go back. Okay, domain is activated. Let me provide some field label here. I'll give some field label. Activate your data element. Data element is active. So what I did, within the table, I took one more field. I ensured that the data type of that field is what? CUKY, currency key. So why I am forced to use CUKY? Because if your database table field or database structure field contains any field whose data type is currency, we must specify the reference table and reference field. The data type of the reference field should be what? CUKY. So when I do syntax check, still I'll get the same error. I'm getting the same error. Specify reference table and reference field. So we have to tell SAP what is the reference field for this particular employee's salary. So where do we specify means we have another tab here, currency slash quantity fields. Already we have seen what? Entry help slash check. Na? Yesterday we have seen for foreign key. This will show you the list of what? Foreign keys. Now I'll go to the tab currency slash quantity fields. Yeah, in this you can see here, what is the field here? EMP salary. What is the date type here? CURR. Only for that field it is asking what? Reference table and reference field. So what is the reference table? Same table. Na? Within the same table I am having that field. So I'll provide the table name as Z830 underscore EMP. What is the reference field here? This only. Na? This is the field whose data type is what? CUKY. So provide that particular reference table and reference field here. Okay, that's all. Let me save it, check for the syntax, activate this. Done, it is activated. Am I clear? So like this will provide the information. Am I clear? So when I'm entering the data for this salary, if I enter 1000, corresponding we have to enter the salary key also. Now, what is that 1000? Whether it is INR, whether it is USD, whether it is Australian dollar, like that. Yeah. Any questions up to this point? Okay. Now similarly, I'll take this another field here, like employee it, something, some field name I'll take, employee it. I'll give the data element as something ZEMP it. Am I clear? So double click on this. Let us create this particular data element. EMP it. I'll give the domain as something ZEMP it. Yeah, ZEMP it done. Not available. Let me double click on the domain. Let us create the domain. I'll save it in the local object, create the domain. I'll give the description. Let me give it as EMP it. Done. I'll give the data type. I'll give the data type of this as it I want to store. So it can be in the form of centimeters, meters, whatever it is. So I'll go for something called as what? Quantity. Quantity. Understood? I'll choose the data type with that quantity. Done. Number of positions is less than minimum number for data type quantity. So I have to give minimum number here. I'll get a something 4. Done. So save it. Check for the syntax error. Activate your domain. Go back. Let me maintain the field label here. I'll give the label as something it something. Okay. Activate your data element. Data element is active. I'll go back. Now I'll try to activate my table. So save it, check for the syntax. Yeah, again I got another Z830 underscore EMP-EMP8 specify reference table and reference field. I must specify reference table and reference field for that particular it. So what is the reference data type for unit for quantity unit? Na? Okay, so I must create another field whose data type should be what? Unit. So within the same table, I'll create another field EMP-ite unit something. I'll give the data element as something ZEMP-ite unit. Done. It is not available. Let me create this particular data element. Create the data element. Yeah, I'll provide the description as something EMP-ite. Let us give the domain. Okay, I'll give the domain as something ZEMP-ite unit. Let us create this domain. Create the domain. Yes, I'll provide some description. Let us give the description as something EMP-ite unit. Data type. So I'll choose the data type as something unit. For quantity, what is the reference data type? Unit. Na? Unit key of what? Quantity field. Am I clear? I'll choose unit. Okay, minimum 2 I have to give it. Number of positions is less than minimum number for data type unit. So I have to give minimum 2 it seems. Done. I gave it. Done. Save it. Check for the syntax error. Activate this. Done. Okay, go back. Provide some label if you want. Activate the what? Data element. Now when I go back and activate the table, still will get the error. Specify a reference table and reference field. For which field? EMPI. Where do we specify? We have a tab what? Currency slash quantity fields. Right? So here I'll give it. What is that? Z830 underscore EMP. I need to refer to a field whose data type should be what? Unit. So within the same table I'm having that na? EMP-ite unit. So I'll just choose this. EMP-ite unit. Let me save it. Check for the syntax error, activate your table. That's it. So what is the overall summary? If your table field or structure field contains currency or quantity fields, we must specify the reference table and reference field. The reference data type for currency is currency key. The reference data for quantity is what? Unit. Okay. Even if you take standard tables, you'll have the same thing. Suppose I'll go to it, I'll go to ABAP dictionary. I'll go to a table called as VBAK, which stores the sales document header data. We have the table VBAK, which stores what? Sales document header data. So if I display this, Yeah, VBAK table, sales document header data. Yeah, in this table, okay, you can see here we have a field here, NETWR. And what is the data type of this currency? No? Currency. So for this field also, SAP might have given the reference field. Na? So if you were to check it, if you go to currency slash quantity fields, yeah, you can see for NETWR, what they give, reference table is VBAK. What is the reference field here? WERK. If you see WERK, what is the data type of this? CUKY. Understood? So in the standard tables also, you will have the same process. Right? So do you have any field whose data type is quantity here? Page down. I'm saying page down. I don't have in this table. Let me go to VBAP table, sales document item table. Okay. Here, let me check for quantity. I can see there's a field called as GMENG. What is this here? Quantity. Target quantity in sales unit. So here, if I go to currency slash quantity fields, you can see here for this quantity field, what is the reference table? Same table. What is the field? ZIEME. What is this ZIEME here? Unit only, no? Unit. Understood? Like this, in standard tables and standard structures also, you have to specify, SAP would have specified the reference table and reference field. Am I clear? So currency keys, when you are entering the currency keys, we have a table T006. T006 is a table which stores the units of measurement. Okay, what are the units we want? Kg, centimeter, liters, all the units of measurements are defined in which table? T006. What is the field here? MSCHI, unit of measurement. So see how many units of measurements are there? 395 units of measurement are there. So if you browse this particular field here, yeah, you can see here. These are all different units of measurement. Let me check for centimeter. Yeah, you can see we have what? cm. What is the centimeter? Like that. Let me search for kg. Yeah, you can see we have kg here. Find next. Kg. What is this? Kilogram. Like this, they're all the different units of measurement. So T006 is the table which contains the units of measurement. Similarly, we have a table TCURC which stores what? Currency codes. We have a field WERS which stores the currency keys. How many currency keys are defined in the SAP system? Yes, 219 currency keys. If you browse this, okay, you can see here all these things. All these are what? Currency keys. Okay, so EGP, Egyptian pounds, like this. Different currency keys are there. INR, what is this? Indian rupee. INR, Indian rupee. Like that, all the currency keys are stored in the table TCRC. That's it. This is about the currency and quantity fields. Any questions?
Sir, uh,
Yes, Sai, tell me.
sir, what is dot append, sir? In standard table, I saw that
Yeah, that will
dot
come
append.
later on. That will come later on. In our custom tables, we have seen how to include the structures. No? How to include the structures? Dot include. Okay. Similarly, going forward, when we come to cross applications, we have a concept of enhancement. Suppose we have the KN1 table. Okay. This is the standard table given by SAP. No? Right. In this standard table, it is showing around 200 plus fields. Okay. Now, according to my customer requirement, these 200 fields are not sufficient in this particular KN1 table. Am I clear? I need to add, according to my customer requirement, I need to add the additional fields. So if it is a custom table, directly I can open it in change mode. If it is a standard table, I cannot open it in change mode. Na? So what I have to do in the standard table also, I need to plug what? Additional fields. Okay, I need to attach additional fields. So there's a different discussion for this. You will have an include starting with CI underscore. If any table or structure is having this CI underscore include, we can double click and add the fields here. If this include is not there in that, you have to go for what? Append structure. Okay, suppose in the KN1 table, let me search for CI underscore. I'll click on the find button. I'll say CI underscore. It is giving a message on the status bar, the string CA underscore not found. So since this customer include is not there, on the application toolbar, you can see there is a button called as what? Append structure. So if I click on this append structure, okay, here I can click on what? Create append. Am I clear? So this will come later on Neo. I'll just give some append name. Okay, continue. It will create what? One append structure. So as part of this append structure, I can add what? Additional fields, activate. This fields will be added in the table and it will show it as dot append, dot append, dot append. Am I clear?
Okay. Okay, sir. Clear.
Right? So anyhow, I'll be discussing this concept elaborately when we go to enhancements concept in what a concept called as customer exits and baddies in cross applications ABAP. We have this. So there I have to go for what? Append structure, where we need to add the additional fields in the standard table. If it is a custom table, we'll always go for dot include. If it is a standard table, how do we add the additional fields in the form of customer include or in the form of append structure? So in this table, I'll just cancel this. In this table, I don't have any customer include. So I went for what? Append structure. Similarly, we have a table like EKKO, purchase document header data. Here I'm having around 140 plus fields. I want to add the additional fields. So first, SAP recommendation is check whether it has got any customer include. If customer include is there, you add the additional fields through that include only. So I'll click on what? Find button, right? So if I say CA underscore, right? Yeah, you can see this table contains what? Customer include, which is include to what? Dot CA, dot include. I can double click on this. It will ask you to create the include and you can add the additional fields. If this include is not there, we'll go for what? Append structure. So there are already some standard append structures which we need not bother. If you want, for the timing, what you have to understand is we use append structure in what? Standard tables if you want to add some additional fields. That is the point you have to understand for the time being. Yeah, any other queries? Okay, so on top of the table we have seen table maintenance generator, one step, two step. We have seen how to implement the events and we have seen how to create the T code. We understood about this foreign key relationship. We understood about the currency slash quantity fields. Okay, and indexes we have discussed, right? Okay, now let us go for, so what are the database objects? What are the dictionary objects which we discussed so far? Database tables we have seen, database structures. We have seen how to create the database structures also, no? And we have seen data elements and domain. So four database objects we have seen so far. Now let me go for another database object called as type group. Type group. Okay. So already we know data type. In this, if you see, we have seen what? Data element we know structure. Okay, we have something called a table type, we'll discuss later on. First let me go for a type group. So What is this type group means? A type group is again a reusable dictionary object which is a collection of global types and global constants. Okay, a type group is a dictionary object which is a collection of global types and global constants. Understood? So already we know how to declare the constants, how to create the type structure within your program. Now, if you want the same constant or if you want the same type structure to be used across multiple objects, then instead of creating them in every object, what I can do, I can create them globally in the database and I can use it. Okay. So we have many standard database tables, standard data elements, standard domains. Similarly, there are many standard type groups provided by what? SAP. There are many standard type groups provided by SAP. Okay, so one of the standard type group is we have many. Suppose we have a type group called as VRM. VRM is one of the type groups. So what is the point you have to understand related to a type group? A type group is a collection of what? Global types and global constants. Let me check any picture is there for this. Yeah. So you can see type group is a collection of what? Global types and what? Global constants. So we have many type groups. Suppose here, let me open a type group called as VRM. So inside this type group, you may have any number of types, any number of constants. Okay. So what you have to understand is, so what is the type group name here? So what is a type group basically? It is a collection of what? Global types and global what? Constants. A type group is a collection of global types and global constants. Okay. So assume that we have a type group what? VRM. So inside this type group VRM, what you will have? You will have all the global types, declarations and constants. Okay, inside the type group, the component names will start with name of the type group, will start with what? Name of type group, followed by what? Underscore, followed by component name. Component name. Understood? Name of type group followed by underscore followed by component name. So if I open this, if I display, see here, observe this careful. Yeah, you can see inside this type group, we have what? Type structure. You can see here. They have created one type structure. Begin of what? VRM underscore. It is starting with what? Name of the type group followed by what? Underscore. Followed by the component name. So what is the name of the types structure here? VRM underscore value. We have another internal table. Wherever we have occurs, it is nothing but internal table. No? I believe I covered this. Occurs syntax. Occurs 0 means it will allocate what? 8 KB of data. So this is the internal table. You can see here. This internal table also is starting with what? VRM underscore. Understood? So all the declarations will start with what? Name of the type group followed by underscore. All these are type structure. Okay, you have some constants here. You can see the constants are also starting with what? VRM underscore, VRM underscore. So this is the naming convention that will be followed inside the type group. Let me open another type group like CNDP. CNDP. Again, this is another standard type group. If I display this, yeah, you can see now. Here also you can see there are some types here. It is starting with what? CNDP underscore constant. It is starting with what? CNDP underscore. So what is the naming convention? Name of the type group followed by underscore followed by component name. Inside the type group, we can have only what? Types and what? Constant declarations. We can have only types and constant declarations. Right? So like this, you'll have hundreds and thousands of type groups. If you browse here, if you browse, yeah, understood. I want to see the first 200. Continue. So you can see it is going to list out the first 200 type groups. Okay. Suppose I'll just browse this. I'll remove this 200. I'll keep it as triple line. Continue. It is showing what? Triple line entries. Understood. I'll remove this triple line. I'll browse this. I'll give the number of its as something what? Something 4999. Continue. Yeah, it is showing. Yeah, you can see I don't have 4999. We have how many here? You can see 4050. There are around 4050 type groups available in my system. It can be standard type group plus custom type group. Suppose I want to see all the custom type groups which are starting with Z. So I'll say Z star, right? Continue. So it is showing only what? Three. Only there are three type groups starting with Z. Am I clear? So like this, a type group is a collection of what? Global types declarations and global constant declarations. We can also create your own type group. Am I clear? So in your project, in many programs, I want to use the same types structure, same constants. So I can declare it globally in the database in the form of what type group. So let me, since it is a custom type group, let us start with Z. Suppose if I don't start with Z, I'll give ABC. I'll click on create. It is ABC already defined as data element. So I'll say ABCD something, create. It is asking for what? Access key. So you must start with what? Z or Y. So I'll say Z. Okay, I'll give the name as something ZABC, something ZABC create. Good. Short text. Okay, I'll just give some short text, custom type group ZABC. Done. Don't worry about this checkboxes, just save it. I'll save it in what? Local object. Right? So it is starting the declaration with type pool. So inside this type group, what I can do? Inside this type group, I can declare what? My own types declarations and constant declarations. So inside the type group, we can use only types keyword or constant keywords. We can use only types keyword or constant keywords. Excuse me one second. Yeah, types keyword or constants keyword. Suppose wantedly I'll say data x type I. Okay, but inside the type group, only types and what? Constants are supported. So when I do syntax check, it is giving an error. Yeah, see the error in the third line. Within a type pool, you can define only what? Types and what? Constants. Within a type pool, you can define only types and what? Constants. Understood? So this is ruled out. So this is giving me what? Yes, syntax error. Let me try to declare types. I'll say types X type I. This is also invalid because what is the naming convention you have to follow? Inside the type group, the components must follow some naming convention. Component name must be prefixed with what? Name of the type group followed by underscore. So save it, check for the syntax error. Good. I got error in the fifth line. What? All the names of the objects called ZABC in the current type pool must begin with the prefix what? ZABC underscore. So this is also ruled out. It is giving me what? Yes, syntax error. So what I have to do here? Types. Start with what? Name of the type group followed by underscore. After that, you give whatever you want. Type side. Okay. I'll say this is types field. Now I'll say type structure. Begin of Z ABC underscore EMP. I'll declare some fields. Employee number, type I, employee name of something 20, type C. Okay. Like this, I can declare n number of what? Type structure and constants. I'll declare one constant. something. Here also I must start with ZABC. Constant must be initialized. Na? So when I do syntax check, I'm getting an error. Value specification is missing in the 14th line. Constants must be initialized. So I'll say value something 10. Like this, I can declare any number of constants and any number of types declaration within the type group. Save it, check for the syntax, activate this. That's it. Understood? Now, how do we make use of this in the program? I can directly use it in the program. I need not declare anything. Suppose I want to make use of this type structure zabc underscore emp. Based on this type structure, I want to create an internal table. So let me create one executable program. I'll go to SC38, Z use what? Type group, Z use type group. I'll click on create. I'll give the title use type group components. Type of program is what? Executable program. I'll save it in the local object. Right? So here I'll say I want to use it. So suppose I'll try to declare internal table data t underscore emp type table of what is that zabc underscore na? Make clear. I'll declare work area also w underscore emp type zabc underscore emp. Am I clear? So when I do syntax check, I don't have any errors. I can directly start using the components of the type group. If you do the same thing in the old versions, it may give an error saying that this is unknown. If I try to use the same thing as it is in the older versions, it may give an error saying that this is unknown. This is unknown. So in the older versions, what you have to do is, if you want to use the components, if you want to use the components of a type group within your report program, you must declare the type group by using type pools keyword. How do you do it? Type pools. What is that? ZABC. Like this, you are declare the type group by using what? Type pools keyword. Save. Check for the syntax. No errors. Understood? But this is not required here. In the older versions, in case if it is not recognizing it, you have to declare it not required in what? Not required from what? 6.0. Understood? Before 6.0, you must declare the type group before we start using it. But from 6.0, this is not required. I can directly use it. That's all. This is okay. Not only the standard type group, even the not only the custom type group, even the components of the standard type group also can be directly used from what? 6.0. Understood? So what happens internally is it will check if it is available locally, it will consider it locally. If it is not there, it will check for a type group with the name what? ZABC underscore. Yes, the type group is available. Inside the type group, it will check whether we have this declaration. Yes, we are having that. Like that, it will identify that. That's it. This is the concept of type groups, which is a collection of global types and global constants. So that's what I have done here. Just like if you take our include programs, right? So how do we use, how do we include a include program in another repository objects by using include followed by include program in the same thing here. So there are many, you might have many custom type groups and what? Standard type groups. All the type groups will contain what? Only types and constants. Understood? So I can start using it in your repository programs. I can use it in executable program. I can use it in include programs. I can use it in subroutine pool. I can use it in module pool program. I can use it in any of the repository objects. So what is the note I gave? From 6.0 version, we need not declare the type group with what? Type pools keyword explicitly. We can directly use them as part of repository objects. Any questions related to type groups? right? Okay, similarly, if you go to ABAP dictionary, let us see something called as table type. So in the data type section, what is a table type? A table type is a global internal table structure created at a database level. It is a global internal table structure. Understood? So just like we have many standard database tables, standard domain, standard data elements, standard type groups, there are many standard table types given by what? SAP. Okay. Suppose here if I browse, it is asking what you want to browse. Search for what? Table types. So what is a table type? A table type is a global internal table structure. It is a global internal table structure, means I can use it anywhere. So if I search for table types, yeah, if I click on continue, it will show you the first 200 table types. It is showing all the table types. Okay, suppose here I'll search for, I'll give something 4999. Continue. It is going to show you the, yeah, how many are there? Search selection restricted to what? 4999. I'll click on new selection. I'll give something 9999. It may take some time. Yeah, selection restricted to 9000. Means there might be more than what? 10,000 hits also. So I'm not interested. Am I clear? So what is a table type? A table type is nothing but what? Global internal table structure. Okay. So suppose here I'll search for LVC underscore T underscore. All the global table types will have T in between. All the global table types will have T in between. So I'll say LVC underscore T underscore star. I'll browse and search, or F4. Search for what? Table types. Yeah, I want to see all the table types starting with LVC underscore T underscore. How many are there? 106 hits on the title bar. You can see how many hits I got. 106 hits. Understood? They're all the table types given by what? SAP, starting with LVC underscore T underscore. Suppose I'll open one table type which I know, LVC underscore T underscore FCAT. If I display this, this is a table type which is a table type is nothing but internal table. Na? So internal table also will contain some fields. Na? That fields are there in the line type. Line type is nothing but structure. Line type is nothing but structure. Table type is nothing but internal table. So structure, it is starting with, it is having S in between. So if I double click on this LVC underscore S underscore FCAT, yeah, you can see it is showing these are the fields available, 107 fields. Okay, let me open another this thing LVC underscore T underscore call. Right? Understood? This is a table type which is having the structure LVC underscore S underscore call, like that. Okay, so I can use this table types directly within our program, just like type group. Similarly, we have the provision to create what? Custom table types. Generally, we don't create. We'll always work with what? Standard table types. Okay, especially when you come to object oriented, we'll come across some of the standard table types which we'll use in our requirements. Okay, so if you want, you can create your own table type. How do you create? Same, choose the radio button what data type, choose the radio button data type. I'll provide the name, so I'll say Z something. Okay, I'll give the name as something Z gen underscore T underscore EMP. Understood? So what is the table type name I'm giving? Z gen underscore. You can need not give T here. You can give whatever you want, but start with Z or Y. So I'm giving this name Z gen underscore T underscore EMP create. It is asking what you want to create. Data element or structure or table type. I'll go for what? Table type. I'll go for table type. Continue. Provide the short text. Okay, so a table type is associated with the line type. Line type is nothing but the structure. Okay, so in the line type tab, I'll choose line type. I'll provide the line type name as something z gen underscore s underscore emp. Internal table is a collection of fields, na? So that fields you'll create it as part of this structure, right? So if I press enter, it is saying the row type, nothing but line type. The structure is not active or does not exist. So continue, create it. If I double click on this, since it is not there, I'll double click on this. If I double click on this, it is saying the type is not available. Create the type. Yes. Save it. Yes. Let us save it in what? Local object. Done. What do you want to create? Structure. Internal table should contain the fields. Na? That fields you'll declare inside the structure. Okay. So I'll choose structure here. Continue. Yeah. Provide the short description. Let me give it as something EMP structure. You provide whatever fields you want, right? So I'll say EMP number. I'll choose types. In the earlier tables, we have created some data elements. I'll use that. Z employee number. I'll say Z name. Data elements and domains are reusable. Z employee name, employee designation types, Z employee what designation, right? So this is a structure basically. You have to create the enhancement. You have to specify the enhancement category. Na? It is saying enhancement category is missing. So choose what? Extras enhancement category. Done. I'll choose some enhancement category. Save it. Check for the syntax. Activate your structure. Structure is activated. Go back. Yeah. What is the table type status here? New. Activate your table type. Save it. Check it. Activate this. Done. Table type is created. Understood? So this table type is nothing but what? Global internal table structure. It is nothing but global internal table structure. So how do I use it in the program now? I can directly use it. Suppose here I'll say reuse table type, something create. Type of program is not XML program. So I want to create an internal table based on EMP structure. So earlier what we used to do, we used to create types. Based on the types, we used to create the internal table and work area. Now what I'll do, I'll directly refer to this particular table type. A table type is nothing but what? An internal table structure available globally. So what I'll do now, I'll directly say data t underscore emp type z gen underscore t and I'm not using type table of. I'm not using type table of, but still I can call it as an internal table. This is still what? An internal table because it's referring to what? Table type. Na? Anything referring to the table type is nothing but what? Internal table. Generally, for creating the internal table, we would have said what? Type table of that structure name. But here already we are having the table type globally. If I directly refer to the table type, this is nothing but called as what? Internal table. Then I'll declare a work area. W underscore AP type. What is the structure of that? Z gen underscore S underscore EMP. Done. Save it. Check for the syntax. So this T underscore EMP is nothing but what? Yes, it's a internal table. So any variable which is referring to the table type, you have to assume that as what? Internal table. This is obviously what? Work area. Understood? So I can declare like this. Am I clear? I can declare like this, or I can say, observe here, W underscore EMP like line of T underscore EMP. Each line of this is nothing but a row. Na? So I can also declare the work area like this. I can refer to the structure or I can refer to the like line of syntax. Save it, check it, done. The rest of the process we know. How do you fill the internal table? You will assign the data to the work area. From work area, we'll append it to the internal table. So I'm directly using it. So I need not declare the table type. SAP will automatically check whether this is available globally in the dictionary. That's all. This is about the table type. Any questions? If you want to create the table type based on standard, if you want to create the internal table based on the standard table type, I can do it. So I'll say T underscore FCAT type. What is that? LVC underscore T underscore FCAT. I'll call this as the internal table because it's referring to what? Table type. If I double click on this, see here it is taking the control to that particular table type. What is the structure of this? LVC underscore S underscore FCAT. So how do you declare here? I can say W underscore FCAT type. What is the structure? LVC underscore S underscore FCAT. Understood? I can do like this or same concept what I told earlier. Work area. What is this? I can say W underscore FCAT like what? Line of T underscore FCAT. Save it. Check for the syntax. Activate this. Done. It is activated. Clear? So this is about the creation of table types and using the table types within the program. Any queries, please? Okay. So far, what are the things? What are the things we discussed in this dictionary objects is first understanding what? First we understood what? Understanding minimum settings are required for what? Creating what? Database tables. We understood that minimum settings, delivery class, data class, size category, enhancement category. Then what you have done, creating what? Custom table with what? Direct data types. Understood? Then we have seen what? Creating what? Table maintenance. Table maintenance, this I believe I use what? One step. Then we discussed what? Creating what? Custom table with what? Data elements and what? Domains. With the data elements and domains. Then what we discussed, we have seen the creating what? Table maintenance for this. Creating table maintenance. In this I covered what? Two step. Understood? Two step. Then what I did, we have also discussed creating what? T code for what? Table maintenance. Creating T code for table maintenance. Then what you have discussed after this, creating T code for table maintenance. Then implementing events at what? Database table level. Implementing events at database table level. What else we discussed after this? We have seen what? Foreign key relationship between what? Database tables. Okay, then what else we discussed after discussing this foreign key relationship? Indexes on what? Database tables. Indexes and database tables. Then we discussed what? Currency and what? Currency and what? Quantity fields on what? Database tables. Okay, then what else we discussed? Type groups. Creating what? Type groups. Okay, then we have seen what? Creating what? Table types. Creating the table types. So this is what we discussed so far. Any questions in this? No questions? Okay, so practice this. When shall we have the next class? Tomorrow or on Monday? Option is open to you.
Not Monday, sir.
Yeah, Bhavani, sorry,
Next class on Monday.
Monday. Fine, no issues. So what we'll do is we'll have the next session on Monday, but Monday onwards we'll have the same time, morning 6:15. Is it fine with everyone? Next week also I want to continue in the morning slot only.
Yes.
Yeah, hope it's fine with everyone. Sai, Sapna, Jyoti, Sudha, morning 6 o'clock, 6:15. Actually, we are starting after 6:30, but Monday onwards we'll try to start at 6:15. Okay, morning 6:15. For a few days, I want to continue in this slot, 6:15 a.m. Hope this should be fine with everyone. This is summer. This should be fine. Morning 6:15, Monday. Okay,
Okay, sir.
fine. So what we'll do is next session we'll have it on Monday morning 6:15 a.m. Okay, another. So I'll wind up then. We'll meet again on Monday. Thank you, everyone.